Theologians have debated for years just what that thorn in the flesh that the Apostle Paul was afflicted with was. And you may be wondering yourself, well, we're going to look at that today. You may also be wondering why I've got 4 bike tyres wrapped around my neck. Well, again, we'll look at that as well, because it relates to this talk. Now, let me tell you, just the other day, my son and his friend went for a bike ride, and they went up a lane that had just had freshly trimmed hedges. Now, anybody who knows anything about freshly trimmed hedges is it puts thorns all over the road. So they'd not gone very far until all 4 tyres had completely popped and deflated. So they had to ring me up to rescue them and had to fix the bikes. Now, why do I tell you that? Well, I'll tell you why in a bit. But first of all, let's look at the 4 reasons, and for each of the 4 reasons, I've got a tyre around my neck. Let's look at the 4 reasons, the 4 things that we can learn from this story of Paul, this thorn in the flesh. I'm going to look at 2 things that Paul tells us about the thorn, and then 2 reasons why it was given. So the first thing Paul tells us about this thorn is that it was a messenger of Satan sent to buffet him. It was a messenger of Satan sent to buffet him. That means that it was Satan who was deliberately targeting a weakness in Paul's life. And it's the same with what he does with us. He targets those areas of weakness in our life. So we have to make sure that we understand what our weak areas are, and we need to protect them and guard against them so we don't fall to this thorn in the flesh. The second thing Paul tells us about the thorn is that it was in the flesh. It was in the flesh. And that's a reminder that, we are a regenerate spirit living in an unregenerate fleshly body. And that's why the Bible tells us to crucify the flesh, to put it to death, to put self to death, so that the spirit might reign in our mortal bodies. So that's the second one. So what about the 2 reasons why this thorn was given? Well, Paul says it was to keep him humble and make him totally dependent on God. You see, the problem is this, right? When God blesses us greatly, it comes with the risk of pride. We can become puffed up with pride. But when the thorn comes along, it deflates us, just like these tyres have been deflated. And as a result, we're brought back down to earth, and we remember who we are completely dependent upon. And the 4th and final point I want to make, which is the second reason why this thorn in the flesh was given, is because by having this thorn in the flesh, it makes us more tolerant and gracious of other people with their thorns in the flesh. Because we all have a thorn, whatever that thorn is. We all have a difficulty in our lives that we struggle to overcome. And when we are reminded about our thorn, it makes us more humble and gracious to those who also have their own thorn to deal with. But listen, let's come together and let's help each other. Do you know, I love the fact that it doesn't actually explain what the thorn was. And for those of you who've been waiting to the end for me to reveal what I think the thorn in the flesh was, I'm not going to do that because my opinion doesn't matter. I think there's a specific reason why God doesn't reveal to us what it is and why Paul doesn't reveal to us what that thorn in the flesh was. And the reason is this, so we can completely relate. Because the thing is this, if you go saying, this is my thorn, and someone else says that's my thorn, and Paul says this was his particular thorn, we can say, I'm not like the Apostle Paul, I didn't have that particular issue. We can feel puffed up with pride, and that's the whole point of the thorn, to reduce us, to deflate us, so we're not filled with pride. No, it's best not knowing, because that way we can totally relate. And we can relate with each other and know that we all have our thorns in our life. So let's use these thorns to do 4 things, to remind us of our weaknesses, that we need to watch out for the devil's attacks, to remind us to rely on the Spirit within us and put to death the flesh, to reduce our pride and keep us humble, and to help each other with all our different thorns and our issues that we're going through. I hope that's been a blessing to you. Please do comment below and share what your particular issues are so we can all pray for you here at Walking with God.